In the quiet suburbs of Vermont, nestled between whispering pines and fog-soaked hills, stood an old colonial house known locally as Whisper Hill. For decades, it had remained empty, avoided even by stray animals. Locals said the house had a memory, that it could recall the lives it had taken, and that it sometimes whispered their names through its rotting walls. In 2016, the young couple, Michael and Sarah, moved from New York City to start fresh. They wanted peace, space, and a slower pace of life. The house on Whisper Hill was cheap, suspiciously cheap, but the realtor smiled too tightly and avoided eye contact when Michael asked about its history. The first few weeks were normal, peaceful even. But soon, Sarah began hearing faint humming at night, like a woman softly singing near her ear while she slept. Doors creaked open on their own. Cold spots spread through the hallways, and sometimes they'd wake to find every picture frame turned face down. Then one evening, Michael heard a knock on the attic door. 3 slow, deliberate knocks. But they didn't have an attic, or so they thought. That night, everything changed. The wind howled that night, rattling the windows of Whisper Hill as Sarah curled up on the couch, clutching a blanket. Michael was upstairs, tracing a strange draft that seemed to come from behind their bedroom wall. He had noticed it days ago, a soft, cold breeze that smelled faintly of mildew and something metallic, like blood. When he pressed his ear to the wall, he heard a dull thump. Then another. Hesitant but curious, he fetched a hammer and began tapping. The hollow sound told him there was a space behind it. As he pried away the wood panel, a cloud of dust rose into the air, revealing a small, ancient door no higher than his chest. Its paint was peeling and a rusted lock dangled uselessly. "Sarah, come here," he shouted. She climbed the stairs, her steps echoing. The sight of the hidden door made her skin crawl. "We shouldn't open it," she whispered. But Michael, fueled by curiosity, twisted the handle. It opened with a screech, revealing a narrow staircase spiraling into darkness. The air that escaped was heavy and wet, carrying the faint sound of humming, the same melody Sarah had heard in her sleep. They shone a flashlight down the steps. The beam caught glimpses of decaying wallpaper, children's drawings on the wall, and something written in charcoal near the bottom. "She never left." Sarah's breath caught. "Let's close it," she said, trembling. But the flashlight flickered. For a second, Michael thought he saw a small figure at the bottom of the stairs. A little girl standing motionless, eyes black and hollow. Then the light went out. The next morning, sunlight filtered through the curtains, but the house still felt cold. Sarah refused to go near the hidden door. Michael, however, couldn't shake his curiosity. "It's probably an old cellar," he said, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. He grabbed his flashlight and started down the narrow staircase while Sarah waited at the top, clutching her phone. Each step creaked under his weight, releasing a damp, moldy smell. The humming grew louder, soft and rhythmic, like a lullaby echoing from underground. Halfway down, Michael noticed more drawings. Stick figures of a family, but each face was scratched out. Beneath them, written in smeared charcoal, were the words, "Play with me." "Sarah, you need to see this," he called, his voice shaking. But when she looked down, her breath hitched. Behind Michael, a small shadow moved across the wall. She screamed, "Behind you!" He spun around, shining the light wildly. Nothing. The humming stopped. The silence that followed was worse. Then a sharp metallic clang echoed from below. The flashlight flickered again, revealing a rusted rocking chair at the bottom of the stairs, rocking on its own. Sarah grabbed his arm and yanked him up the steps. The door slammed shut behind them with a force that shook the floor. They stumbled back, breathing hard. "What the hell was that?" she gasped. Michael stared at the door. "Someone's been living down there," he whispered. But deep down, he knew that wasn't true. Whatever was beneath their home wasn't alive in any human sense. And that humming, it wasn't done with them yet. That night, sleep refused to come. The air inside the farmhouse felt heavy, almost electric, as if the walls were holding their breath. Sarah lay wide awake beside Michael, staring at the ceiling. Around 3:12 a.m., she heard it, faint but clear, the same humming sound drifting up from below the floorboards. Her pulse quickened. It wasn't random noise. It was a melody, slow and haunting, like a mother singing to a child. She nudged Michael awake. "It's back," she whispered. He sat up, listening. The lullaby grew louder, weaving through the air vents, echoing in the corners of their room. Without a word, Michael grabbed the flashlight again. This time, Sarah followed. The house felt colder with every step toward the basement door. When Michael turned the handle, it was already unlocked. They descended together. The basement was pitch black. The rocking chair stood still now, but the air was trembling with sound. The lullaby now coming from the far wall. Michael shone the light across the concrete and froze. There was something new there, a set of tiny handprints smeared in dust leading toward the corner. The humming stopped abruptly, replaced by a child's voice whispering, "You woke me up," Sarah screamed. The flashlight went out. In the darkness, something small brushed against her leg. She grabbed Michael's arm, trembling as cold laughter echoed around them. When the light flickered back, the chair was rocking again, but now there was a doll sitting in it. Its porcelain face was cracked, one eye missing, and from its mouth came a soft, tuneless hum. They bolted up the stairs. The door slammed shut once again, but this time the lullaby followed them. The next morning, Sarah refused to stay silent any longer. She demanded answers, from Michael, from the realtor, from anyone. Michael, still pale from the night before, decided to check the old storage boxes they'd ignored earlier. Most were filled with rotting books and yellowed papers, but one box caught his attention. It was sealed with duct tape and labeled "Do Not Play." Inside were several cassette tapes, each marked with a date from the late 1960s. The earliest one read, "Lullaby Night 1." Against Sarah's pleas, Michael brought out an old tape player from the attic and pressed play. A hiss filled the room. Then that same melody, the same haunting lullaby they'd heard in the basement, but this time it wasn't just humming. A man's voice whispered softly, "She won't stop singing. She wants her child back." Sarah covered her ears, trembling. The voice on the tape grew frantic, then dissolved into sobbing and scratching sounds, like someone clawing at a wooden door. Michael quickly stopped the tape, his face ghostly white. They both sat in silence until Sarah finally said, "Who's she?" Michael rewound the tape to check the label again. Beneath the printed date was a faint handwritten note. "Mrs. Halloway, don't let her near the cellar." A sudden thud interrupted their thoughts. Came from downstairs and from the cellar. Sarah turned toward the door, heart pounding. Another thud, louder this time, followed by a voice, humming that same lullaby through the air vents. Sarah whispered, "Michael." "It's coming from the player." The tape was still running, but the player was unplugged. The name Mrs. Halloway clung to Sarah's mind like a dark fog. That night, she searched the town library archives, hoping to find anything about the previous owners. The librarian, an older woman named Ellen, hesitated when Sarah mentioned the farmhouse. Her eyes darted around before she whispered, "You shouldn't have gone there." Ellen disappeared into the back room and returned with an old newspaper clipping from 1969. The headline read, "Local woman loses child in tragic fire, claims house still sings to her." The photo beneath it showed a pale, thin woman standing before the very same farmhouse. The caption, "Mrs. Evelyn Halloway, 38, last seen days before her disappearance." According to the article, Evelyn had been a widowed mother who lost her daughter, Clara, in a fire that destroyed the original farmhouse cellar. Neighbors reported hearing her singing lullabies to the ashes every night, until one day, she vanished completely. Some claimed they saw her in the cellar window long after she was gone. As Sarah read aloud, Michael's phone buzzed. It was the home security app. Motion detected in the basement. The timestamp showed 12:03 a.m. When they returned home, Michael went down to check while Sarah stayed upstairs. She heard his footsteps fade, then stop. "Michael?" she called. No answer. Static began playing from the living room. The cassette player, still unplugged, had turned itself on again. The tape hissed and Evelyn's voice whispered through the speakers, "Don't let him take my baby." Then came Michael's scream from below. Sarah rushed toward the cellar door, but the moment her hand touched the knob, it turned by itself, and slowly the door creaked open. Sarah froze at the top of the stairs, the door yawning open like a mouth inviting her into darkness. A faint sound drifted up. Not Michael's voice, but the soft hum of a lullaby. It was the same haunting tune from the cassette. The air grew colder as she descended, her flashlight flickering with every step. The basement was damp and smelled of burnt wood and old earth. Her beam landed on something strange, a new wooden floorboard lighter than the rest. Kneeling down, she saw scratches around its edges, as if someone had tried to pry it open recently. "Michael?" she whispered, her voice trembling. No answer. Only that lullaby echoing softly behind her. Then she saw him, standing near the far wall, motionless, eyes wide. His skin was pale, his lips murmuring something she couldn't hear. She approached slowly, placing a hand on his shoulder. He flinched and gasped, "Sarah." "She's here." Before Sarah could respond, a deafening bang came from the floorboards. The planks buckled, revealing a dark gap beneath. From it rose a choking smell of smoke and something else. Decay. And then a hand, small and charred, reached out from the gap. Sarah screamed and stumbled back, pulling Michael with her. The hand withdrew, but a faint giggle filled the cellar. It was the unmistakable sound of a little girl. Michael whispered, "It's the daughter, Clara." The light flickered violently. On the far wall, a shadow appeared. A woman's silhouette, tall, hair wild, head tilted unnaturally. In her arms, she held a child. "Leave her be," the voice rasped, echoing through the cellar. Then, just as suddenly, the shadow vanished, but the cellar door slammed shut above them. The cellar went silent after the door slammed. Sarah's flashlight rolled across the floor, spinning its beam wildly. Michael grabbed it and steadied the light toward the gaping hole in the floorboards. A foul, cold wind rose from below. It smelled of rot and old ashes. "We have to see what's down there," Michael said, his voice trembling. Sarah shook her head, terrified. "You saw that thing, Michael. We're leaving." But before she could finish, the lullaby started again, this time from beneath the hole. It wasn't coming from a cassette anymore. It was real. The voice was small, broken, and sounded alive. Against her instincts, Sarah followed Michael as he pried open the loose boards, revealing a narrow tunnel that sloped into darkness. The air grew heavier as they crawled through, dirt falling from the ceiling. After a few feet, they entered a cramped stone chamber lit by the flicker of an oil lamp that shouldn't have been burning. On the wall, someone had scratched hundreds of tally marks, some smeared with what looked like old blood. And in the center of the room stood a wooden crib. Inside it lay a doll made of ash and twine, its head tilted at an unnatural angle. Michael approached it cautiously. This must be hers. Clara's. Before Sarah could reply, the doll's head turned slowly toward them. Its eyes, two black marbles, gleamed in the dim light. A woman's whisper filled the chamber. "You shouldn't have woken her." The lamp flickered out, plunging them into total darkness. Then a child's laughter echoed all around, followed by the unmistakable creak of the crib rocking on its own. The darkness pressed down on them like a living thing. Sarah's trembling fingers found Michael's sleeve as they stumbled toward the faint outline of the tunnel. Behind them, the crib creaked again and the lullaby grew clearer, no longer a recording, but a voice echoing from the walls themselves. "Sleep, little one. Don't you cry." The voice was heartbreakingly soft, the sound of a mother who'd lost her mind. Sarah screamed for Michael to hurry. They crawled as the tunnel seemed to tighten around them, the air thick with dust and something wet that clung to their skin. Just as they reached the cellar opening, Michael froze. His eyes widened in horror. "What is it?" Sarah gasped. "The boards," he whispered. "They're back." The entrance was sealed shut. The wood had somehow reattached itself, smooth and unbroken, as if they had never touched it. Panic set in. Sarah banged against the floorboards with her fists, shouting for help, but the house remained deathly silent. Then, footsteps. Slow, deliberate, above them. A woman's humming drifted down, followed by the faint cry of a child. Sarah pressed her ear against the ceiling. The crying turned to laughter. Michael shone the flashlight upward, and for a split second they saw something peering through the cracks. A pale, eyeless face smiling. The voice whispered again, almost lovingly, "You're part of us now." Every light went out. The air filled with the sound of rocking wood and soft giggles that echoed long after the house fell silent again. When Sarah woke, the cellar was silent. The flashlight lay shattered beside her, its beam dead. She turned, expecting to see Michael, but he wasn't there. Only the faint echo of humming filled the air. That same cursed lullaby winding through the dark like a whisper from another world. "Michael?" she called, voice cracking. Her breath misted, though the air was still. Then she heard it. Footsteps behind her. Slow, heavy, familiar. Relief surged through her as she spun around. Until she saw him. Michael stood in the corner, his face pale and expressionless, eyes wide and empty. His lips moved, but the words weren't his. A woman's voice came out. The same one that had haunted the house since the first night. "Don't wake the baby," the voice crooned. Sarah stumbled back. "Michael, it's me! Please, fight it." But Michael only tilted his head, smiling faintly as tears rolled down his cheeks. His hands trembled as he raised them toward her, fingers twitching like a puppet on invisible strings. "Don't let her," he forced out, his voice breaking, before something unseen snapped him upright. His eyes rolled back. The temperature dropped sharply. The candle on the floor ignited by itself, burning with a blue flame that cast horrifying shadows across the walls. The outline of a woman in an old-fashioned dress appeared behind him, her long black hair floating as though underwater. Sarah screamed and lunged toward him, but the ghost turned its hollow face toward her. The flame exploded, and she felt cold hands grip her throat. The lullaby grew deafening. The last thing she heard before everything went black was Michael's voice whispering, "Run." When Sarah regained consciousness, the world was eerily still. The cellar was gone, or rather, she wasn't sure if it had ever been real. The floor beneath her was cold concrete, but everything around her had changed. The flickering light revealed peeling wallpaper, rusted pipes, and symbols scorched into the walls, old protection sigils that seemed to have failed long ago. She could still hear the lullaby, but faintly now, like a dying echo trapped between worlds. In front of her, Michael lay motionless, his face peaceful. Too peaceful. She crawled toward him, shaking him, pleading for him to wake up. When his eyes finally opened, they were his again. "It's over," he whispered weakly. "She's gone." But as Sarah leaned closer, she realized he wasn't looking at her. He was looking through her. Slowly, she turned her head and saw the reflection in a shard of broken glass beside them. Behind her stood the woman in the black dress. Her hollow eyes met Sarah's in the reflection, and her mouth twisted into something between a smile and a scream. Sarah spun around, but there was nothing there. The candlelight snuffed out. The cellar fell into complete darkness. Outside, hours later, the police would find only one survivor, Sarah, curled up at the bottom of the stairs, whispering the same lullaby again and again. The authorities would call it shock. The house would be condemned, boarded up, and eventually forgotten. But on quiet nights, the neighbors still report hearing it. A woman's voice humming gently through the broken windows. "Hush, little baby. Don't say a word." And sometimes, if you listen close enough, you can hear another voice join in. Deeper, sadder, a man's voice, singing in harmony.